Hello and welcome to Never Seen It. I'm your host. I'm Betsy, and with me as always is Trent.
Hey there.
So we are doing, as we said, a brand new series for the month of June on all the Sundays. You might have heard about it, you might not believe it, but we are watching all of the Indiana Jones movies because my darling husband, my dear Trent, has only ever seen the first one time and has never seen the rest of them.
And we hear that there's another one coming out inexplicably in the first part of July. So
Well, the end of June, so the last episode will be released in July.
Correct.
So we have decided we are going to cover all 5 Indiana Jones movies simply because you have only seen the first one once.
Yes,
and for completionist's sake, we're going to do all of them.
Yes, just like when we did the Fast and Furious series, I had seen 1 through 5, and Betsy had seen 1 for sure, maybe 2.
I'm fairly confident, having watched it in retrospect, I only ever saw the first one.
Right. So again, for just completionist's sake, to talk about the characters, to talk about everything, and because I've only ever seen the first one once, and it was, like 8 years ago?
It was
we were
quite
in our old
ago,
house.
yeah.
So, yeah, we're going to hop into it here.
So, Trent, can you give the people an explanation as to why this 40-year-old series, 40-plus years at this point, that you have not invested the time to watch all of them?
I just don't know. Like, Indiana Jones was something that I maybe looked at as oh, that looks boring. It's old. It's got this weird sepia tone to it. And it's set in like the 30s. It just seems like it's not for me.
Like when you were a kid, you thought it was a movie from the 30s?
Yeah. And I've said this before. I didn't even watch Star Wars until I was in high school. So a lot of this stuff has just completely passed me by. And I know you, having a very large family that needed to be entertained, had a lot of movies in your collection.
Oh yeah, we had the VHS of the first one and the third one. For whatever reason, I think my family thought Temple of Doom was maybe too dark for kids, and we'll get to that whole thing. But yeah, we had Raiders and we had Last Crusade, and I don't remember those movies not being in the house.
Fine.
Like, I genuinely think my entire life I have been watching these movies.
Yeah, and like my family never really got a lot of movies. We didn't rent movies. We certainly didn't go to movies. And of course, this first movie came out before I was even born. It was before my parents were even together.
Or right on that cusp,
yeah,
certainly.
Something like that. But as far as like why I never sought them out as an adult, I don't know. I think I just had other ththings going on, and it's like, okay, well, I don't really need this other Harrison Ford vehicle. I have all these Star Wars things, and that's enough. And yeah, I mean, not until I met you did I even consider. You even had a hard time getting me to sit down and watch that one. I don't know why. I'm just a stubborn asshole, I guess. So here we are. We're going to watch all of the Indiana Jones movies.
All right. So, of course, first off is going to be the first one in the series. So this is going to be Raiders of the Lost Ark. This came out in 1981. So talking about Star Wars, this came out between Empire and Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
So this is firmly between Star Wars movies when Harrison Ford was getting to be a really big star.
And they didn't really even expect this movie to be a big hit.
Not in the capacity that Star Wars was.
No, because they didn't even have like the enveloping title to go along with, hey, this is Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's not Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. They kind of retconned and changed the title, much like the original Star Wars became A New Hope.
Right.
They kind of changed the title to go along with the overall series.
They plugged the thing, the identifying unifier, the Indiana Jones name.
Right, and like even today, like the parlance of saying, what's your favorite movie? Is it, and tell me why it's Empire. Just like Temple of Doom. You don't say Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. You say Temple of Doom.
Right. So everybody now knows what it is. So
yeah.
You've seen Raiders one time. What do you know, or what do you remember about Raiders of the Lost Ark?
All right, so there's not really anything I can spoil because, again...
If you haven't watched this movie in 40 years, guys...
the stuff I remember is the stuff that is in the lexicon. It is him with the whip. It is him with the snakes. It is him shooting the guy as the guy across from him is waving a sword around, which is a classic scene. I fucking love that. It's like him being kind of a nerdy professor too. At the beginning of the movie, well, not the beginning, but towards the beginning of the movie, he is this guy with glasses. I don't remember ever seeing a movie with Harrison Ford with glasses.
Not until his later years. When we get into the 90s, he wears glasses a lot more.
I guess. I also remember, this is outside of the movie, but I remember the term top men.
Top
men. Again, I barely remember the context in this movie. And of course, I know the iconic scene with him and the boulder. Of course, everybody knows that because it's been parodied and imitated so many different times over the decades.
Okay, and obviously based on the title of the movie, you know what they're after in this.
The Ark of the Covenant.
Yep. Do you know anyone else who's in this movie?
Oh, God. No, I really don't.
Okay.
Just like right off the top of my head, I know it's a Spielberg joint. I know it's John Williams music. And of course, I recognize the music, of course.
Do you know the other filmmaker who is critical to this?
Yeah, it's, of course, George Lucas had a big part of it, because this was back when Spielberg and Lucas were buddies.
Right, in their mutual rise in the 70s. Those two got to be friends, and they collaborated and made this project together.
Right, and I don't really know like who did what or anything like that. I'm sure we can get some trivia here and bring it to y'all at when we're done watching it.
This series will be chock-a-block full of trivia because it's been around for so long. There's so many stories about this that we'll have a lot to talk about. But with that, we are going to kick off this series with Raiders of the Lost Ark, and we'll be right back. We're back, joining the likes of Johnny Utah and Duncan Idaho. That was Indiana Jones in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
You stole my line.
You're the one who brought it up, so of course I stole it. So that was watch number 2 for you.
Yep.
So you haven't seen this in a long time. Did that jog your memory?
Honestly, no, because there was a ton of stuff in here that I did not remember. And of course, coming at it from another perspective, from an analytical perspective, instead of just sitting down and watching a movie, we're doing it for a podcast, and we consume movies differently. Like, yes. I'm sitting on the couch taking notes.
Oh, I kind of forgot the whole note-taking part for most of this movie just because I've seen this one so many times. I mostly was just making notes of the things I want to make sure, like the little fun facts, not so much what was actually happening on screen.
Yeah, things you wanted to bring up. And for me, it's more, hey, I need to remind myself of, okay, this is the beat, or this is the thought I had, or like something that I noticed.
The flow, yeah.
Yeah.
So what did you notice? Did you like this viewing?
I like this more, I think, this time than the first time. Because, again, I'm paying more attention, and I'm doing it because I want to do it, not because you're telling me to.
I mean, I still am. I'm still telling you to do it. All the rest of them I will be.
Yeah, I mean, the more I think about this movie, the more it is just in this same fucking Star Wars lane. Like, it sounds the same. It's got the same composer. A lot of the music sounds the same, down to the even like sound effects at some point. Like at the end of the movie when they're at the altar, when all the sparks started flying out, that's the same kind of sound effect that happens when I think the stormtroopers are using their blasters on shit and things are kind of blowing up.
It is abundantly apparent that there were a lot of products from like the 40s, the 50s, the 60s that these two directors grew up on that inspired both of these properties. So you're right. There is a lot of correlation for what's happening in Star Wars and what's happening in Indiana Jones.
Well, and for fuck's sake, it's the same companies who are making it's fucking Lucasfilm making this movie.
But they're also drawing from a specific set of adventure movies when they were kids and space movies from when they were kids.
Yeah.
And it's just taking all of those things they grew up and loved and interpreting it in their own way.
It's their own Western. That's what this is. It's a Western.
It's a Western. It's a serial action series with cliffhangers and, what will happen to our hero in the next episode, that kind of stuff.
Right.
And they're just taking it to an 11. And so there's a lot of things about these movies, like the way it's shot, the way this movie looks with like light and shadow and angles and different things. It is kind of unlike almost anything else Steven Spielberg has ever directed. I was watching this going, this doesn't look anything like The Fabelmans that we just watched last year.
It doesn't feel like a Spielberg movie at all.
No, because he's drawing so heavily from other properties, like those early, like, The Mummy from the 1920s or 30s, whenever the original one came out.
All the John Ford Westerns that he grew up loving.
Yeah, so he's taking so many little, like a piece here, a piece there, and he's creating this. And then, in turn, so many other properties after this movie stole from this movie.
Right. Because, I mean, the people who were ripping this movie off didn't have...
Lovingly ripped off.
Everybody steals stuff. It's fine. What the modern creators were doing by ripping this movie off is they're skipping the part where they grew up watching a bunch of the Westerns. Instead, they're inspired by the inspiration.
Yeah, they're just drawing from Raiders of the Lost Ark and the Indiana Jones franchise.
It's not a Western ripoff. It is an Indiana Jones ripoff.
Right. This viewing was actually kind of amazed how much I was thinking about The Mummy from 1999. I don't think I had ever really drawn that correlation, but it's the same thing where they're remaking a movie from the 30s, which is what the inspiration is for Indiana Jones. So it makes total sense that it has the same kind of vibe and the same kind of way it's shot.
Yeah.
And so, I was thinking of that one. There was another, like you said, Star Wars. I was thinking of Star Wars a lot. Yep. And there's even like down to, they filmed a lot of this movie in Tunisia, which is where they filmed the original Star Wars.
Yeah, there's this canyon that is very famous from the beginning of Star Wars where Ben Kenobi and Luke Skywalker meet for the first time.
And that is the same canyon where Indiana Jones is pointing the bazooka.
The RPG.
At the Ark and all of the Nazis down there. So there's just this through line to all these other movies. And then there's just this swath of stuff from the 80s. Like I was reading Romancing the Stone, which is a book. So basically it's a woman who is a romance novelist, but she writes like action romance. And so she has this action hero, like an Indiana Jones type. And then she goes on a real life adventure herself. And I would love for you to watch this one. I think I've brought this one up before. Again, in the 80s, everyone wanted to fuck Michael Douglas.
Yeah, we've mentioned this.
He's in that one too. And it's the same thing. It's like an Indiana Jones wannabe. And it's just all stuff in the last years after this movie came out. This is what people wanted. This fun action hero.
Well, we've mentioned it in the past where like a lot of 70s movies we're not very into because it's kind of a darker, more depressing attitude. Coming into the 80s, people wanted to have fun. These movies are fun.
Oh my God, this movie is so fun. This is one of the all-time great movies. If you just want to put down an action movie that you can have like laugh and romance and watch him kick ass and kill Nazis.
Exactly. And fucking Harrison Ford is having a great time. He's like grinning and just like smirking as he is killing people.
And he's so bad at most of what he's doing in this. He's getting very lucky. So you can root for him because he's not like a superhero. He's just a guy. And
he is an archaeologist professor.
And they play it up at the beginning after the big opening action sequence. They cut back to he's actually a professor. Yeah. And he is just this dork in a tweed
suit.
He's a
fucking nerd.
He's got his glasses. He can't really even spell the word Neolithic. All these girls in his room are swooning. And he's just a nerd. He's a nerd. But he also has this great side hustle.
Yes, he has a passion for this stuff. This is his teaching thing. That's his day job.
Yes, something's got to pay the bills. And you asked about like Marcus Brody, the guy with the museum who kind of
the
was
curator.
looking
The curator who came in.
Basically, he's the money. So he goes to the museum, and the museum will pay for Indiana Jones to go and get these artifacts for them to put in their museum.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the dynamic there. And so when he gets wind of, oh, the Ark of the Covenant, it doesn't come from Marcus, it comes from the US government.
Yeah, like we don't really know where these guys are coming from. We were kind of discussing it while we were watching. Like, what department are you guys from?
Because if you think about it, in 1936, that kind of predates the FBI. It predates the NSA.
The CIA.
Yeah, it's all kind of the early days of these organizations.
Yeah, there are like national security type agencies within the government, and they are spying on the Nazis and whatever else is going on in Europe. So they know what the Nazis are going to do, but I don't understand why they're coming in and trying to intercept the Ark of the Covenant, because they didn't know anything about it until they met with Indy and the curator. But then they started explaining what it is, and they said, well, we got the right guys, that's for sure. And they don't even say what it is. I mean, other than the lore and the history behind it.
They kind of say these government dudes have been keeping tabs on the Nazi regime, because this is 1936, and I don't think I appreciated, when I was a kid, the historical context. So this is pre-Nazis, like, taking over things.
Right.
They hadn't declared war on anybody yet. They were just a growing force within Germany. So in this movie, they are kind of a menace to be kept an eye on.
Sure.
And they are collecting religious relics from around the world, and the U.S. government doesn't understand why.
Right. And
it's just a quest for power, I guess.
They make reference to the fact that Hitler was way into the occult and like weird shit like that, I guess.
I don't know. They say it at the beginning, but it's kind of like, it's just exposition. I don't care.
Sure.
Just get to the good stuff.
He's a weird duck, that Hitler.
Yeah.
God.
And of course, one of the agents I had to point out to you is Porkins.
It's Porkins
from Star Wars.
Cover me,
the
Porkins.
only other movie I think I've ever seen that man in. And I never knew that until maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, that was the same actor.
Yeah.
There's so many things about this movie I didn't know until more recently.
Sure.
Of that like Star Wars like crossover and just weird behind the scenes making of stuff. This movie was a trial to make. Like you talked at the beginning about the big sword fight where he just shoots the guy. Mm-hmm. This was supposed to be this long, elaborate scene. And he's just like, I'm tired. Can't I just shoot him? Because everybody on this set was just sick as a dog.
They got food poisoning.
They got something like that.
Yeah.
So everybody was really, really sick and run down, and they're trying to push through and make this movie in the desert when it's hot.
Yeah.
And they're just tired and they don't care. But it adds so much to his character.
Yes.
To just be like, oh, fuck that guy.
The Indiana Jones character has been growing on me for the past however many years, because he has this fucking, like, nerddom over here, but on the other side, when he's in his uniform, he's got this fucking swagger and this arrogance about him.
The leather jacket, the hat, the whip, he turns into a different person.
He turns into a different person.
So he is, in that regard, that's his superhero costume.
Yeah.
But he's not a superhero. He just has a different sort of swagger and ability when he's doing that.
Yeah, and like the one thing that I wrote down while the truck chase was going on, where he got into the truck, he's driving it behind where the bad guys are, where I think he had already gotten all those guys who were climbing on the truck off of it, and then there's like there's a motorcycle with a sidecar coming off the side, and he just kind of slightly moves the wheel of the truck over, slams into him. You don't see it. You see the aftermath, but you just see this little smirk on his face.
Oh, yeah, he's
like, oh, I did that.
He's very pleased with himself.
He just kind of giggles.
When he's winning these fights. And it's going his way. Like, there's a lot of that. And it's that same sort of thing he does when he is Han Solo.
Yeah.
He's sort of this rogue dude, except where Han Solo thinks very highly of himself. I don't think Indiana Jones does. I think he is pretty set on what his objective is, who the bad guys are, what he's trying to accomplish.
When he's pointing the RPG at the Ark, he doesn't want to shoot it.
No.
He is there for the archaeological finds.
Yes, he wants to protect the history.
Yes.
And I will be completely honest, Trent, this movie has had a lot of impact on me as an individual.
Oh, yes, I was going to get there.
Because for a long time had a misunderstanding of what archaeology actually was, because this isn't it.
No.
It's a lot more slow and dull, but the core of the being excited about history, that part has stuck with me.
Oh, yeah.
And I think this movie, more than any other in my formative years, set me on that path of enjoying history.
Yes.
And reading more about it and finding things out about it. So I ended up being a classics major. So just a fancy area-specific way of saying history.
Betsy has a degree in this shit.
Well, sort of, kind of. So like when he is in Egypt and he's in all these rooms full of hieroglyphics.
Yeah.
I took a hieroglyphics class. I have books. I could probably futz my way through some of that still, but it's been 20 years.
You know, like C-3PO and R2-D2 being on the columns.
Yes, those are known Egyptian hieroglyphs from ancient BC times.
Exactly.
So yeah, this movie inspired me. It inspired whole generations of people, but with a fundamental misunderstanding. And now, guys, I realize now that this is not archaeology. This is not what it is. It's a lot more slow and precise. Yeah. My sister is more of this person. She just, again,
down to the whip and the guns and everything.
Dr. Bones, we'll call her. So she goes through an actual dig site, and you have to take off a layer and draw everything and document everything.
Everything has to be very deliberate.
Oh, yeah.
And you have to know what's there before you fucking take the one layer off.
No smashing and grabbing the way he's just like kicking down doors.
Yeah, just shove a crowbar in there.
And, you know, just take a bag of sand and replace the idol and then just go running. Go running.
Right.
But it did inspire several generations of people to really be interested in this kind of a movie, this kind of a lifestyle, this sort of a character has inspired 40 years of people.
Sure.
I would be really interested to know how many very young people, like 10 and under, have seen this movie.
Like now?
Like now.
Okay. I'm sure there's plenty. I think you would probably show this movie to a kid at an earlier age than maybe some of the Star Wars movies.
Maybe.
To a point, except for the very, very end.
This one's a little more violent.
Yeah.
But it's also like phony violence. Like, again, I'm sure I was way too young to be watching this movie, but I genuinely don't remember a time in my life I wasn't watching this movie.
Yeah.
Because that's who my dad was. He was like, I like Indiana Jones. We're putting it on the TV, kids. Enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what happened with the Ark at the very end, with people fucking faces melting and exploding heads and Nazis getting...
And ghosts and ghouls and
like
snakes.
Supernatural shit.
Yeah, and this is, again, one of those movies that really pushed the MPAA to create the PG-13 rating. This movie was one of the major triggers because it's not bad enough to be R, but it's worse than a PG.
Yeah.
And people didn't know what to do with it. And I think this movie is rated PG. I'd have to double check.
I think it is.
But
because
maybe in
they don't retroactively go back and re-rate movies.
Not typically. But this one is definitely not an R movie. It is pretty clean, other than a little bit of blood and a little bit of violence.
Yeah, like he gets shot. There's some like blood on the windshield, but it's all very fake blood.
Yeah.
It was very bad back in the day. It was basically ketchup.
It's very red and thick and weird.
Viscous.
So we're just kind of jumping all over because if you're listening to this podcast, I think you have probably seen this movie and know everything we are talking about.
Again, as have I. I've grown up around people who love this movie and these movies in general. I've been around you for over a decade now. You love this stuff. You went to college for this entire history, let's say, and I get it. I understand why this swarthy guy is an attractive lead for this big adventure. Because you don't want to have some fucking nerdy guy in glasses going up there in his suit, getting his little brush out and doing it the right way.
His brush and chisel and a notebook.
You want to have the guy come in with a fucking crowbar and wreck shop.
He's a looter. He's more more defined as a looter than he is an
Or a
archaeologist.
tomb raider, if you will.
Or perhaps a tomb raider. So some other things about this movie. Are you familiar with who another person was that was considered for the role of Indiana Jones?
I'm not, no.
They actually did a screen test, and you can find this, for Tom Selleck.
Okay.
So he was very strongly considered. The only reason
I could see that.
that they didn't want Harrison Ford in particular was because he had been in Star Wars and he had been in American Graffiti, and he was kind of this repeat player for George Lucas.
Yeah, I read the thing where George Lucas kind of didn't want to use him just because of the fact that Scorsese would always use Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to be another, well, I mean, why would you want to be another Scorsese? But you didn't want to have the reputation like that where you have to have your lucky charm, your lucky actor in your movie in order for it to be successful. Because you want to be able to decouple those two things together to show that your actor can be successful and you can be successful separated.
And again, this is 1 year after Empire comes back. So this is a guy who's filming this movie in between Empire and Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, and going all around the fucking world, too.
But they had Tom Selleck do the screen test, and I think he ultimately couldn't do it just because of Magnum PI, because that was, again, corresponding with that time where he would have been trying to get out of TV and into movies. And there is a certain quality he has that I could see working here.
I totally do.
But I also hate that concept because I'm so now attached to Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones. I just can't fathom anybody else.
But that's you.
That's me.
Me looking at it from the outside, knowing what I know about Tom Selleck, he could pull it off. 100%.
With or without the mustache.
With. Gotta have it. Gotta have it.
In 1936, it would have been a strange thing. I feel like he would have had to change his look somehow.
You're right.
Because I think he's just too modern looking.
You don't see any mustaches in this movie, do you?
No, there was some beards.
There's like one goatee. Like the guy with the monkey had a goatee, I think.
Or a beard or something like that.
Yeah, a short beard. And Harrison Ford had the
stubble.
The 5 o'clock shadow look, which it looks great.
Oh, he looks so good in this movie.
He's tan.
He is just at that right age where he is not quite 40.
Betsy, you said this. He was around our age when he made this movie.
He was 39
we
years old.
We are both 38.
Yeah. We are older than John Rhys Davies in this movie.
John Rhys Davies is 1 year younger than Harrison Ford.
Right.
Harrison Ford is 80 currently, and John Rhys Davies is 79.
Yeah, so we're like the same age, or he was like slightly younger.
God.
It's weird as we get older to watch movies and like start placing that, because for me, watching this, because this is something I saw when I was a kid, I can't fathom that I'm now the same age.
It's hard.
To me, I am instantly transported to being, 8 years old watching this movie.
Sure.
I will never outgrow that. I could be 70 years old watching this, and I'll still be like, I'm so young and spry, and he's much older than me.
And that's just something that happens when, like, we were looking at something on Instagram where it was people who were in high school and they all looked 35.
It was like
it was
an
old
from the 40s.
yearbook, from the 40s, and all of these people looked like 35. But they're graduating high school. It's weird.
Yeah, they're like 17 years
People
old.
had much harder lives back then.
This is very true. So to bring it back to the movie, there's a lot of other people, actors that you definitely recognize now. So I mentioned John Rhys Davies.
Yep.
Have you seen him in anything outside of Lord of the Rings?
Probably. I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
So this was obviously the thing I knew him from, and it took me a hot minute to realize when I was watching Lord of the Rings, because he's under so much makeup, that this
all
is the
voice.
same guy.
It's all the voice.
Yeah, he's doing a different accent, obviously.
Sure.
But I've seen him in that, and then a couple of other properties. But I saw he is the only actor, or one of a few, to be in Indiana Jones and The Lord of the Rings and James Bond.
Okay.
In all of those franchises.
All right.
Then you've got Karen Allen, who is playing Marion. And at this point, I think she was probably best known for Animal House, which had come out a couple years before this.
Right, and I've only ever seen Animal House once.
But you have seen her in something else.
What's that?
She is the mom in The Sandlot.
No shit, okay.
Yeah. And again, kind of that thing where my brain as a kid didn't comprehend a movie made in 1981 versus a movie made in 1993.
A lot of things happen in 12 years.
The time frame is not that far apart, but when you're a kid, it's really hard to conceptualize that that's the same person.
Yeah.
Because you're just seeing it for the first time, so everything you assume is brand new.
Mm-hmm.
So she's in this. And this is also the first credited role for Alfred Molina.
Right, who gets an opening credit
Yeah.
in this movie. I figured, based on where that positioning is, I figured he was going to be in the movie the rest of the way. But
Nope, they kill him off in the first scene.
Yeah. So, and I've obviously seen Alfred Molina in a few things, especially in recent years. But in like the early part of his career, I don't really remember seeing a whole lot of anything in the 80s and 90s.
Well, I didn't know this was him. Like, I think the first thing I really knew, like, okay, that is Alfred Molina, was Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
So
I
around
would say that's
there.
most people.
And then he was in a bunch of other properties at about that time where I was like, okay, that's the same actor. That's the same actor.
He started to
recognize
become
him.
a name, let's say.
Yes, but I didn't know that was the same guy from Raiders of the Lost Ark because he's so young here.
He's very young and he's putting on an accent.
Yes, he's playing a South American character.
Yeah.
Understandable why I wouldn't know who he was.
Yeah.
One of the other people who shows up in this movie, kind of taking it back to the struggles of getting this made, everybody being sick, one of them is actually Frank Marshall. So the producer of this movie is in this movie because everybody else was sick. They couldn't find anybody to play the pilot in the big action sequence after they escape the temple.
Oh, yeah.
And they're fighting on the plane.
With the biplane, yeah.
Yeah, so the guy who is in the plane, kind of pointing a gun at him.
He's fishing.
No. So at the latter part of the movie.
Oh, him. Okay, in that one.
plane.
In that one. Okay.
Yes, there's a Nazi pilot pointing a gun at him.
And that's Frank Marshall.
That is Frank Marshall. I
Okay.
didn't find that out until recently, and it's again because everybody was so sick, the guy who was supposed to do it couldn't.
Yeah. I also read that during that fight, he's fighting this really big guy. And apparently that is a British wrestler.
I mean, that makes sense. The big bald dude.
Yeah, and apparently he gets killed twice in this movie.
Yep.
There at the plane and then somewhere else in the movie.
He's in Nepal at the beginning of the movie. He's one of those goons. There's a lot of dudes just sort of really bundled up and covered in fake beards.
Sure.
So it's easy
They're
to
the
miss
fodder.
him. Yes. There's a very high body count in this movie, and I just saw the fact that all the people who die are bad guys.
Right.
Nobody who is innocent dies in this movie.
There are no innocent victims, just like innocent bystanders who just get caught in the way.
Nope.
You know, some of their like wares get strewn across the ground,
Yeah.
but you know, nobody dies.
Just kind of some collateral damage, but
just
nobody
the Nazis
dies.
and the goons who are working for the Nazis.
Yeah, you are picking the wrong side.
That's
so
right.
If any,
and you deserve to die.
If any movie told me Nazis are bad, it would be the Indiana Jones franchise.
Fucking A.
Again, 1936, this is predating World War II.
Yeah.
So my concepts as a kid of time and place and people was a little harder to wrap my head around. But watching it now, I'm like, oh yeah, this is really significant why there isn't a world war happening.
Yeah.
But these guys are bad.
Because they have a reputation. I mean, they've heard about the rise of Hitler. They've heard about all the different shit that has started to happen within Germany, but they haven't gone that extra step to invade Poland yet.
Right, and there is one line of dialogue when they get off the submarine and they're going to open the Ark for the first time. The German officer says, I'm not comfortable with this Jewish ritual.
Right.
And they added that later because somebody pointed out, we've spent this whole movie with the Nazis and we haven't mentioned anything about what they're planning.
Yeah, I mean, other than the fact that they are like wearing the armbands and they have the swastikas all over them, they could have just been a generic bad guy troop.
Yeah.
And the fact that the Ark of the Covenant is literally the thing that was holding the 10 Commandments, you know, a guy named Moses is a little bit important to the Jewish people. Just a little bit.
Little bit.
So, yeah, the fact that Hitler is going after the Ark of the Covenant, I don't think it's because of the religious symbolism or anything like that. They think it's a weapon.
It's all power. It's all about power.
Yeah. So him being into the occult makes sense. Like, he would read something about, oh yeah, the Ark of the Covenant has all this power and you can use it to vanquish your enemies. Who cares if it's a Jewish symbol?
So I want to, while we're on this topic, have you put a pin in this?
All right.
And just remember this for future movies. So this movie, the main artifact is the Ark of the Covenant, a religious relic. And there's also some supernatural elements happening here.
You think?
Where when they open it up, there's like ghouls and spirits and there's fire melting faces.
Supernatural shit. That's what I wrote down.
Supernatural shit. And the only reason that Indy and Marion are saved is they don't look at it.
Yep.
They don't look at it. And frankly, they're also innocent in their own way.
Yeah.
From the goings on here. So I want you to just remember that as we proceed through this series, because I think it is something that people don't always hold on to, and then they get really nitpicky about later as the different stories progress.
All right.
And I want you to remember that we had this conversation as a little bookmark when we're having further conversations.
Well, we're doing one of these a week, so it's kind of hard for me to forget.
Right.
So,
Well,
okay.
I'll just say that now
for me and the
posterity.
audience who are following along with us.
I would just like you to hold on to that note. All right. So to change topics completely, I think this movie, of a lot of movies, is a prime example of the thing we have talked about many times. A justification for why they should have an Oscar for stunt coordinating.
Yes.
Because this movie goes from they're trapped in the temple, which is an action sequence, immediately into the big airplane sequence, immediately into the truck chase, and that's just 3 in a row. This is like 25 minutes of this movie is action, 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 and it is some of the most intense. Like, you definitely think someone's gonna die. Like, Indy gets shot. He is riding the front of a truck and the stuff is bending and he's about to fall.
The grill is bending and he's like very delicately positioning himself to get underneath the truck.
Yep, and he's using his whip and being dragged behind on gravel.
Right.
This is some complicated shit where people could definitely have gotten hurt.
And there's no CG.
Nope.
It is all real dudes.
I think I spotted just a handful of really minor special effects where you're like, okay, well, that is like a matte painting or that is,
Sure.
Something on a green screen. But it's so few and far between. All of the action sequences, that's real.
Yeah.
He really had a guy swimming through the river, getting on the plane at the beginning of the movie. He really has a guy running through being chased by a boulder. There's fucking arrows being shot at him. There's Nazis swinging in and kicking him through the door.
Yeah, and there are real snakes too.
They went around and got every goddamn snake they could get their hands on, and it still wasn't enough. So there are also rubber snakes in there.
Right. So you also mentioned we're watching the 4K collection of these films, and they went through and they cleaned up a lot of things. You mentioned during the scene where Indy is down in the snake pit.
Yeah, when he first jumps into the hole, he jumps off the ladder and he kind of falls. He's looking straight into the face of a cobra.
Yep.
And he kind of backs up really slowly because it's up and you can see the back of its head and it's hissing at him. There is a piece of plexiglass between him and the snake. They're never going to put their high-paid actor face to face with a dangerous snake.
With a real-ass snake, yeah.
So in older versions of this, there's kind of like lightning and flashes, and you can actually see the plexiglass because the light kind of reflects on it a little bit.
You can only clean it so much to make it clear.
And on film, you couldn't digitally take that out in 1981.
Yeah.
It was just going to be there if you were paying attention.
But in this version, you were looking very, very closely.
I really was.
And so was I. Once you pointed it out, I didn't see a damn thing.
No, I think they probably went in and digitally touched that up to get rid of the reflection, and then you can't see it.
I would say that's better. I don't mind you going in and giving it more realism.
Yeah.
But like we always talk about the George Lucas stuff about him going in and fucking with his original works and adding things that shouldn't be there or weren't originally there. I get how people have a big problem with that. But in this, I have no problem with you giving it more realism.
If they went in and touched this up and did other changes, him and Spielberg have done it on different projects,
Yep.
the world would burn. Because this movie, like, I don't know what you would possibly change unless you're trying to, remove guns again or something stupid. It's
right.
like, it's Indiana Jones, it's Nazis, it's the 30s, it's danger, it's adventure. If you take anything out, it suddenly won't make any sense.
Agreed. And I would say if we want to just kind of go through some moments here, there was one scene, the bar fight scene, I should say. Mm-hmm. I noticed there's no music in that entire scene. Did you notice that too?
Yeah, I wrote that down where I was like, I don't know if I ever paid attention to the fact that they're just letting the fight happen.
Yeah.
And there's flames and shadows, and like you're seeing people die, but you don't actually see them. You just see the shadow. That's such a 1930s movie making thing.
Yeah. And there's like a whole bunch of shots of just people in silhouette, like when John Rhys Davies finds Indy and Marion in this tent after they kind of escape. Like they're all in shadow in the foreground. There's a silhouette of them. You like in this version, you can see their faces because it's just very high quality. But in old versions, I'm sure you're just going to see their silhouette.
Right. Or the first time we actually see Indiana Jones's face, he emerges from a shadow.
Yes.
Like
he does not show his face until we finally need the money shot.
Yes. And there's just tons of things like that throughout the beginning and then throughout the movie where just his eyes are lit up.
Right.
Or he's looking through a screen, or, we're kind of at a weird angle, like where Belloc is talking to him in Egypt after he thinks that Marianne has died.
Yeah.
He's in the foreground, not making any eye contact with Belloc, and he's out of focus, but Belloc is staring dead at him and completely in focus.
That scene is directly out of an old 40s, 30s movie.
Yeah. And the other thing I had a thought just now was, you pointed out there's no music in the fight. Mm-hmm. That could also be all the way back to like silent movies where you're just letting the action happen and there was somebody in the theater playing the music.
Sure.
So if you just watch the movie by itself, nothing is happening with the music. Mm-hmm. So one other random fact I know about this, just because I don't know where else to say it, when they're in Egypt and they first go to Salah's house, Marianne and Indy are looking out over the town and they're just like, oh, it's so beautiful.
Sure.
This is apparently this town was full of like TV antennas and wires that wouldn't exist in 1936. And they had to go pay somebody to take them all down.
I had heard about this.
Because again, they couldn't just digitally take them out in post. They had to actually physically go door to door and remove TV antennas.
Wow.
This is the level to which they were trying to make this movie accurate. And I so appreciate it for that effort.
That's incredible. I mean, that one fact, accuracy is a very important thing when it comes to a lot of filmmakers. Not everybody, though. These movies are so complex and there's so many people working on them. You think, oh, that'll get taken care of or that'll get taken care of. Not always.
It's easy to miss stuff.
It's very easy to miss stuff. But you have to have these meticulous directors, these meticulous cinematographers.
And set dressers.
Yes, exactly. So you have to have meticulous people on set to make sure that somebody has to care about this stuff.
Before you ever say action.
Yeah.
They had to go and do that before because they only had so many tries. Like when they catch Marianne and the truck falls over.
Yeah.
It wasn't supposed to just tip over like it did, but they couldn't afford the time or money to redo it. So that's what went in the movie.
It makes sense though. But the only thing that isn't explained here is like what happened to her. Like the entire way we thought that she was in the truck. She wasn't in the truck.
She was
in a different basket. And they do address it in the movie. But like that entire time, I'm thinking to myself, she clearly was in there because that's the thing that he was chasing. So she's dead? Oh, okay.
I guess she's dead. No, she's not dead.
Okay.
And something I heard about making of this movie, this was one of those things that Steven Spielberg sort of challenged himself to direct in a different style because he is a meticulous guy. He had to be okay with just do it once or just do it twice and just get it done and go and go and go. And they had a really tight schedule and he just had to trust his instinct and get it done.
And when you have so many different like locations and different units shooting things, you have to be okay with what you got, because going back is not an option.
Nope. You just have to get the shot, whatever that means, and edit it together the best you can.
Yeah.
And it's such a great exercise because it really is unlike so many movies that Steven Spielberg has made. Like, this man has a 50-year career, and I think there are some that you could probably group together in style and feel. This one in style alone is so unique.
Compared to the rest of his filmography, 100%.
Yes. So I want to bring up something very specific that is only semi-related to this movie. I would really be remiss to not bring this up.
All right.
I watched a documentary a few years ago called Raiders! Exclamation point. Okay, Raiders.
Yes, you did. Okay, yes.
I have brought this up to you.
About. Yes.
This group of guys, I think in Texas, in the 80s, were obsessed with Raiders of the Lost Ark. And this was the early days of accessible home videos where you could just put it right on a tape. And they had a camera, and they did a shot-for-shot remake of Raiders of the Lost Ark in the 80s over several summers. So they were like 12 when it started and like 17 when they finished. And they did it all out of sequence. So Indiana Jones is like 12, and then he's 15, and then he's 14, and then he's 17. And it was just this group of neighborhood kids with a camera and a vision. And this is before the internet. This is before anything else. They just kept going back to the movie theater and seeing this movie because he didn't have home video.
Not yet.
And these kids with like a fucking notebook storyboarded the whole movie themselves. And they shot this over the summers, year after year. And they put it together. But the only scene they weren't able to do, for obvious reasons, was the airplane fight scene later. Because they're a bunch of schmucks in high school.
Yeah.
How are they going to get an airplane and do this? And so, like 10 or so years ago, they decided to come together. They reunited to finish the movie. So they got a budget. This guy like took time off of work for a couple of weeks, and they were going to film the big action sequence with the plane. And this whole documentary is about this because this movie somehow got released, like underground. People living in Texas got it at like a Blockbuster, and then this guy shows somebody, and you could just, make copies with a VHS.
Of course.
And it just was this underground phenomenon. These kids made this shot-for-shot remake, and this documentary is so fucking joyous because it just makes me think about when you're a kid and you do stupid shit with your friends and just making things with people and creating things and using your imagination.
Yeah, it's how a lot of filmmakers get started, fucking around with their friends, getting a camera, and just going for it.
And a couple of these guys did end up in the movie industry. I think one is like a producer and one has had a little bit of a career as an actor.
Yeah.
But I cannot recommend this documentary enough. I checked before we started recording. It's available on Hulu and a bunch of other platforms. So if you are listening and you have not seen this and you love Raiders of the Lost Ark, please go and watch this because it made me smile so big. And I have not stopped thinking about it. And I've only seen it the one time, and it was years ago.
All right.
So I just really wanted to bring that up because I don't know where else to talk about it.
High praise from Betsy.
All right. Well, enough of that. Trent, did you have anything else you wanted to bring up about this first entry before we wrap it up?
No, I think just us talking about the reference for the movie is enough. Again, I've seen the movie before. I'm looking forward to the rest of them because I know much, much less about the rest of the movies. We'll get to talking about what I know about them later, but again, I'm excited for this. This has been a very long time coming for me, and I'm excited.
Well, awesome. It's unknown territory for you from here on out, but I would be willing to bet we have some people out there who, unlike Trent, have seen this movie many, many times. So we would love to hear your little fun behind-the-scenes fact or your personal experience with this movie.
Yes.
What are your thoughts? Email us, neverseenitpod@gmail.com. We do have an email from our superfan Stephanie about a recent movie we watched, Crank.
Crank!
So she begins, "Oh my God, this movie is ridiculous."
Yep.
It really is. I have seen it a handful of times, but not since college or shortly thereafter. It is funny and wildly entertaining, but the plot is pretty contrived.
What plot?
Exactly, Trent. Exactly. I honestly don't remember the girlfriend except for the public sex scene. Is she in more scenes than that? Who cares?
She is just inconsequential to the rest of the movie.
She's in like one scene before and maybe one scene after that.
A few scenes after that, yeah.
Yeah. I do remember the weird camera angles and on-screen text very 2006.
That was the style.
This is not the kind of movie you need to think about hard at all. It is delightful garbage. Love you guys.
We need stuff like that in our lives. Delightful garbage.
I just love an easy to watch, easy to understand movie that is just fun. And I think Crank and Indiana Jones have that in common, where they're just fun. Like, Crank is a completely different beast. It is a different animal. It is way more violent and more action-based.
I was looking through our movie collection just this morning, and I came across a movie that I said to Betsy, man, I really want to watch Annihilation. And you agreed.
Yes.
We should really, we've only ever seen it once and we liked it, but there's a lot more to it. And Annihilation is one of those movies where you have to sit down and pay attention.
You really need to be focusing.
You cannot casually watch Annihilation.
You can't start and stop it. You can't follow it otherwise.
But, like, I was also in the A's of our collection, and I said, man, I also really love Argo. And Argo is one of those movies that is a casual watch. You know what's going to happen. You know what the beats are. But it's just a great movie from front to back.
If you watch that one 20 minutes at a time, you'll still probably remember what happened the last time you watch it. Annihilation is much more open to interpretation.
You sit down for that 2 hours and you watch the whole goddamn thing.
And you are really trying to figure out from the moment it starts to the moment it ends, what the hell is going on in this movie.
Yeah, I cannot recommend either of those movies enough for very different reasons.
Well, listen, you said it yourself. We watched Drop Dead Gorgeous for our last movie because we had so many male-centric movies.
Indeed.
We wanted to watch a female-centric movie. And Annihilation is a group of boss-ass women going in because all the men couldn't get it done.
Yeah, Oscar Isaac is like in 2 minutes of that movie, and he's inconsequential.
If we hadn't already seen it, that probably would have been on a short list to cover for the podcast. But go see that movie too. It's awesome.
It's awesome.
But yes, we would love to hear your thoughts on Annihilation or any other boss-ass women movies. We want you to tell us about them. Send us an email, neverseenitpod@gmail.com. We also would love to hear from you on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all those platforms. You can find us on there. You can also click the link in the podcast description to throw us a buck or two, and we can keep bringing you Indiana Jones movies 1 through 5 for the coming weeks.
And speaking of 5...
yes, we would love if you rated us 5 stars. We hear that helps the podcast grow our audience and help people find out about us.
Rate us in your podcast app of choice.
So yeah, send us your thoughts, rate us, all of those things, and tune in next Sunday as we continue all of the Indiana Jones series. So the next one's obviously going to be Temple of Doom. So if you want to jump the gun and send us your thoughts about that in advance, we'll take them.
And we are going to go see the brand new one in theaters whenever that comes out.
Yeah, and then the Wednesdays, we got some other stuff planned. But for Sundays through June and then into that first week of July, it's going to be Indiana Jones. So we'd love to hear from you. But with that, this has been another episode of Never Seen It. I'm Betsy.
And I'm Trent.
And we will see you next time.
Fuck Nazis.